What if I told you that most of the pressure you feel was never real to begin with? Imagine this. You spend your entire life chasing approval, shaping your identity around what others expect, measuring your value by likes, titles, or applause. You walk through the world wearing a mask you didn't even choose. You fear judgment. You seek validation. You try to fit into a mold that never quite feels like you. But here's the question that could change everything. What if caring so much about what others think about being accepted, about always getting it right, is exactly what's been holding you back? What if the key to confidence, peace, even success isn't about controlling how the world sees you, but letting go of the need to control it at all? Centuries ago, long before self-help shelves and wellness influencers, the philosopher Michel de Montaigne dared to confront this very paradox. His message was radical even by today's standards. He asked, what if the highest form of intelligence is self-acceptance? What if the art of living well isn't about achieving perfection, but about dropping the need to be perfect? Montaigne observed something most of us still struggle with. We are prisoners of invisible pressures. The expectations of others become our gods. The fear of judgment becomes our jailer. And instead of living freely, we become consumed by trying to prove ourselves worthy. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why Montaigne believed that when you finally stop caring about how you're perceived, everything in your life begins to fall into place. Pause for a moment. Reflect on this. How much of your daily stress comes from trying to meet standards that aren't even your own? How often do you bite your tongue, shrink your voice, or second-guess your decisions because you're afraid of being misunderstood? How much of your time, your energy, your joy is wasted on worrying about things that in the grand scheme of life have no real meaning? Montaigne offered a truth that's deceptively simple. The more we release the pressure to be accepted, the more we align with our truest selves. He believed that life is messy, unpredictable, and uncontrollable. He believed that chasing perfection is a losing game and that wholeness begins where performance ends. But here's where people get confused. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean apathy, laziness, or lack of ambition. It means finally being free from the chains of overthinking, of people-pleasing, of measuring yourself against everyone else's yardstick. It means living by your own values, being present in your own skin, and realizing that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Montaigne spent much of his life watching how people behave, how we spiral into worry, trap ourselves in self-doubt, and obsess over things beyond our control. He asked bold questions like, why do we allow strangers' opinions to shape our lives? Why do we cling to control when life is by its very nature uncertain? Why do we sacrifice peace chasing an idea of success that was never truly ours? He didn't offer empty motivation. He offered something deeper, an invitation to stop running, to stop performing, to stop allowing fear to drive your decisions. Here's the truth that might shock you. The less you try to prove your worth, the more powerful you become. Think about the most magnetic, confident people you've ever met. Were they the ones trying desperately to be liked, explaining themselves to everyone, apologizing for taking up space? Or were they the ones who seemed grounded, calm, centered, and unapologetically real? That's what Montaigne understood. And it's what modern psychology confirms authenticity is magnetic. When you stop filtering your truth, when you trust yourself instead of chasing approval, people feel it. You start attracting the right relationships, the right opportunities, the right life, and you gain something even more precious than popularity: freedom. Freedom to take risks without paralyzing fear. Freedom to speak without rehearsing your every word. Freedom to live without constantly wondering if you're enough. And here's where it gets really interesting. When you finally stop obsessing over how life should be, life starts working. You stop forcing things. You start flowing with them. Relationships become more authentic. Decisions get clearer. Your energy returns. Why? Because you're no longer drained by the constant performance of being perfect. You're just being you. And that's enough. Think about how many rules you've been following without question. How many pressures you've absorbed from family, school, society, media. How many fears you've inherited and never challenged. Montaigne saw through all of it. He saw that our minds left unchecked create imaginary prisons. We overthink, overanalyze, overprepare, all to protect ourselves from criticism that may never come. But what if the key to a better life isn't in fighting harder, but in surrendering smarter? This is what Montaigne teaches. Letting go of control doesn't make you weak. Letting go of approval doesn't make you invisible. Letting go of perfection doesn't make you broken. It makes you real. It makes you free. It makes you whole. And this is just the beginning, because as we continue this journey, we'll dive even deeper into how to apply Montaigne's timeless wisdom to your everyday life. You'll discover practical ways to stop overthinking, to break free from fear-based decision-making, and to start living with the clarity, calm, and confidence that come when you stop caring about the wrong things and start caring about the right ones. So ask yourself one more time, what would change in your life if you simply stopped caring what they think? In the last section, we uncovered a liberating truth that letting go of the need for validation unlocks confidence, freedom, and authenticity. Now let's dive deeper, because the world will never fully understand you, and that's perfectly okay. Take a moment and ask yourself, how much energy have you spent trying to be understood, justifying your choices, explaining your worth to people who might never truly see you? We silence our real opinions just to avoid confrontation. We bury our true desires to fit in. We tailor ourselves to please others, hoping for a nod of approval, while betraying our own truth in the process. The harsh reality: many of the people you're trying to impress are too busy trying to be seen themselves. And yet we keep trying. Montaigne observed this all around him, people exhausting themselves over petty concerns, holding grudges, feeding fears, and spiraling into insecurities, all in the name of acceptance. But when you step back, it becomes painfully clear most of what we worry about doesn't matter. Not really. Not in the grand scheme of life. Have you ever noticed that the moment you stop obsessing, the solution appears? Or that when you stop chasing someone's attention, they suddenly start paying attention? This isn't magic, it's alignment. When you stop clinging, life begins to move. The problem: most people are terrified of letting go. They mistake detachment for giving up. They confuse indifference with failure. But Montaigne's wisdom offers a powerful reframe. Not caring doesn't mean being numb. It means caring about the right things. It's about directing your energy with intention, freeing yourself from the exhausting weight of things that don't serve your growth, your peace, or your purpose. Montaigne urged us to embrace imperfection, not just in ourselves, but in the world around us. He recognized that striving for absolute control is a never-ending war, a war that depletes our spirit and leaves us empty. Life is wild, unpredictable. No matter how carefully you plan, prepare, or try to control the outcome, there will always be surprises. So why not surrender to that truth? Why not stop resisting the chaos and start flowing with it? Consider this. How much lighter would you feel if you stopped micromanaging every moment, if you stopped second-guessing every decision, if you stopped treating failure like a fatal flaw? Montaigne reminds us that even the greatest minds, philosophers, leaders, artists, have stumbled. They've been misunderstood, they've failed publicly, and yet they moved forward. They didn't allow outside opinions to define them. They trusted their own inner compass. Because success, as he understood it, isn't about approval, it's about alignment. Not with what's expected, but with what's real. And here's where Montaigne's philosophy becomes magnetic. When you live with this kind of detachment, not from life, but from the noise, you begin to glow differently. People notice, not because you're trying harder, but because you've stopped trying for the wrong things. You're no longer wasting energy chasing what was never yours to begin with. Have you ever wondered why some people seem effortlessly successful, while others struggle endlessly? It's not always about intelligence, or talent, or hard work. It's about mindset. Those who thrive understand that mental freedom creates energetic focus. When you stop worrying about distractions, judgment, gossip, imaginary failures, you can focus fully on what truly matters. That's the power of letting go. Montaigne's insight is clear: the more you release, the more you receive. When you stop fearing failure, you take bolder steps. When you stop seeking approval, you become more authentic. When you stop trying to control everything, opportunities emerge where you least expect them. This is the hidden magic of detachment. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's not escape, it's clarity. Letting go is about choosing your battles, protecting your peace, and staying loyal to your own truth. So now ask yourself honestly, how much of your stress comes from worrying about others' opinions? How often have you hesitated to do something meaningful out of fear of being judged? How many times have you replayed a past mistake, thinking that punishing yourself might somehow redeem it? Montaigne's philosophy doesn't offer a quick fix. It offers liberation. He reminds us, the past, it's gone, the future, unpredictable, the present, it's all we ever truly have. When you fully embrace this truth, when you stop clinging to control, stop worshiping perfection, stop fearing rejection, something remarkable happens. You begin to live. And now we step into one of Montaigne's most profound insights. The moment you stop needing something, it often arrives. Stop chasing approval and people start respecting you. Stop fearing failure and you find doors opening. Stop controlling every detail and life begins to flow effortlessly. This isn't spiritual fluff, it's observable truth. Detachment creates space for connection, space for growth, space for joy. When you stop forcing, you start receiving. But if it's so powerful, why is it so hard? Because we've been conditioned to believe that control equals safety. We've been taught to grip tightly, to plan, to worry, to strive, as if enough control will finally bring peace. But Montaigne reminds us no amount of control can erase uncertainty. No amount of planning can eliminate chaos. No amount of worrying can rewrite what is. The real security comes not from gripping tighter, but from trusting deeper. Think about your relationships. How many conflicts are born from unmet expectations? How much pain comes from trying to change someone else? How often do you try to shape the emotions, thoughts, or actions of others, only to be left frustrated or heartbroken? Montaigne understood true connection isn't about control, it's about acceptance. The more you allow others to be themselves without needing to mold them into your version of right, the more peaceful and honest your relationships become. People who practice detachment are often the ones others admire most. Why? Because they're not demanding, they're not needy, they don't smother or manipulate, they don't panic if they're misunderstood. They simply are rooted in self-trust, flowing with life and radiating calm. But we're not done yet, because in the next section we'll explore how this mindset of detachment doesn't isolate you, it actually deepens your ability to love, to lead, and to connect. You'll see how the greatest strength often comes from surrender, and how true presence begins the moment you stop needing everything to be perfect. So stay with us, because what comes next just might reframe how you experience not only yourself, but everyone around you. We've seen how letting go of control brings peace, and now let's explore how it also brings strength, connection, and the kind of calm confidence that draws people in without effort. Have you ever noticed this strange truth? The people who desperately seek attention rarely receive it, but those who are at peace with themselves, they naturally attract others without trying. Their calm presence, their quiet confidence, it's magnetic. This is the paradox of letting go. Michel de Montaigne understood it well. He believed that the way we relate to others is a mirror of the way we relate to ourselves. If you constantly crave validation, it's often because you haven't yet accepted yourself. If you're terrified of being alone, maybe you haven't made peace with your own company. If you need others to behave a certain way, just for you to feel okay, perhaps you've not yet cultivated true inner stability. But the moment you stop trying to control people, the moment you stop fearing loneliness, the moment you stop measuring your worth by how others see you, you discover something extraordinary. You become free. Let's be honest, how much of your emotional energy is spent reacting to other people? A single comment ruins your day. A subtle tone sends you spiraling into doubt. One rejection plants seeds of unworthiness. How often have you clung to resentment, disappointment, or anger, only to realize later it brought nothing but exhaustion? Montaigne taught that peace doesn't come from being liked by others. It comes from liking yourself, from knowing your value whether or not someone else sees it. And once you truly grasp this, your entire experience of life begins to shift. Imagine walking into a room and not needing anyone's approval. Imagine having a conversation without the anxiety of being misunderstood. Imagine appreciating someone deeply without trying to possess or change them. This is what happens when you let go of the need to control things that were never yours to control in the first place. Now let's clear up a common misunderstanding. Letting go does not mean checking out of life. It doesn't mean becoming passive, apathetic, or cold. It doesn't mean you stop caring about the things that truly matter. On the contrary, it means engaging with life more honestly, more deeply, more fully, but without the constant attachment, the unnecessary stress, or the urge to force things into your favor. Montaigne's philosophy is about balance. It's about caring just enough, caring about your values, your purpose, your health, your peace. But releasing the burdens, those invisible weights of worry, comparison, expectation, and control. So here's the question. What are you clinging to that no longer serves you? Is it someone's approval? A need to be perfect? A fear of being misunderstood? A version of success that was never truly your own? And what might happen if you finally let it go? Montaigne invites us to shed these mental layers, to drop the false responsibilities we've taken on. And in doing so, we uncover something simpler, more honest, more human. At this point, you might be thinking, if letting go is so freeing, so powerful, so transformational, then why don't more people do it? The answer is simple: fear. We've been conditioned to believe that if we stop micromanaging every aspect of our lives, everything will fall apart. We fear the unknown. We fear failure. We fear that if we stop holding on so tightly, life will slip through our fingers. But Montaigne challenges this illusion. He reminds us it's not control that creates peace. It's clarity. It's not force that brings success. It's flow. It's not perfection that earns love. It's presence. Think back on the most meaningful moments of your life. Were they carefully planned down to the last detail? Or did they unfold unexpectedly, beautifully, when you least expected? Some of the best things in life, love, creativity, joy, inspiration, aren't meant to be chased. They come when you stop trying to capture them. They come when you stop performing and start being. Think of the artist who finally stops worrying about public praise, and in that freedom creates a masterpiece. The entrepreneur who stops fearing failure and suddenly takes the bold risk that changes everything. The person who stops desperately searching for love and meets the right one precisely when they least expect it. This is the paradox of life. What we hold on to too tightly often slips away. But what we release often returns greater than before. Montaigne didn't pretend life would be without difficulty. He knew there would be chaos, loss, uncertainty, and suffering. But he also knew that fighting life, resisting its imperfection, fearing its flow only deepens the pain. Instead, he encourages us to dance with it, to laugh at its absurdity, to accept its unpredictability, to stay open, present, real. Because here's the deepest realization: you don't have to control everything to be happy. You don't have to prove anything to be worthy. You don't have to be certain to move forward. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the quiet strength of someone who knows their worth, who trusts the timing of their life, who is not afraid to breathe, to release, to surrender. So as we close this journey, let me leave you with a question. What can you let go of today? What fear, expectation, role, or attachment have you been clinging to that's ready to be released? And more importantly, what might your life look like if you trusted that everything is already unfolding exactly as it should? Because in the end, the moment you stop caring about the wrong things, the right things begin to find you. That is the gift of Montaigne's wisdom. That is the path to peace. That is the art of letting go.